live stream or for watching the recording. Today's topic is about how much it will cost you to rent an apartment in the Czech Republic or Prague. But it's not about the rents, because I've done other videos about that. So if you're interested in about the average rent, go to my channel and search for rental prices or whatever. I also have a full playlist which is just about the topic of renting on my YouTube. So just go there and check that. And also if you go to any official website, you can compare the prices and get a basic idea. Even though there are some tricks that real estate agents use on the websites, and I will talk about it in one of my next live streams because that's a pretty interesting topic as well. But today I will be talking about the other costs that are associated with actually moving to a place. Not the rent itself, because that's kind of clear, not exactly, but it's kind of the easier option or the easier part to figure out. That I will talk about everything you need to pay, like not exactly related to the rent. Okay, so the first thing, or what is the customs here, let's say, how does it work? So first thing when you're moving to an apartment is that the landlord is expecting you to cover the first month rent in advance. Usually it's when you're signing the lease, or when you're moving into the apartment, which is usually the same day, but sometimes you sign the lease in advance, and usually you are required to pay the first month rent when you're signing the lease. Then, depending on the quality of the apartment, you are expected to pay 1 or 2 monthly rents as the security deposit. That means a deposit in case you destroy something or you don't pay rent or anything like that. Then the landlord will use this deposit to cover these like costs. So it's like first month rent and then 1 or 2 monthly rents as the security deposit. 1 or 2 depends primarily on the quality of the apartment. If it's a newer apartment or nicer furniture, then they most likely will choose to ask you for 2 monthly rents. If it's like a basic furniture, basic apartment, it is more likely to be just 1 monthly rent, but either 1 or 2 is the standard. They can go up to 6 monthly rents. I've seen it once in 12 years of doing this job. I've seen it once, but I've seen it. So they can go to up to 6 monthly rents. That's kind of crazy in my opinion, but officially they can do that. But to be expected 1 or 2 monthly rents. Then usually if you use a real estate agent to help you find, or actually help you find, that's kind of a weird to say because most of the agents do not help you to find anything. We do, for example, in Move to Prague, we help you find a place based on the requirements you tell us. And most real estate agents only offer you what they have to offer. You know, they have some apartments they take care of, they advertise, and you can just choose from the offer. They don't really like look. It works a bit differently than in some other countries where the real estate agent actually works for you. Here the real estate agents work for the landlords. So they don't really care if you take the apartment or not, or what kind of apartment you want, because they will just offer you whatever they have in store. So that's 1 monthly rent. There can be variations of that. Sometimes it's like rent plus utilities, sometimes it's just the rent, sometimes it's rent and 21% VAT, sometimes it's half the rent. It depends on the real estate agent, but generally the common thing here is 1 monthly rent as the real estate agent fee. So that's already like three or four. Fuck, what I'm doing? Like 3 or 4 monthly rents in advance when you're moving to the apartment. That's one part. That's still the kind of what you expect. Sometimes I will talk about it in this, like not scams, but the tricks the real estate agents use here. Sometimes you also need to pay like a sublease fee. That's usually for 1 or 2 management companies, like pretty big ones, but they charge you a fee that they allow you to lease the apartment basically. that's the amount there is unknown, so you never know. But that's potentially another fee you might need to pay. Sometimes, I'm not sure if it's still the practice now, I will investigate until the next live stream, but in the past we've also seen like, I don't charge a commission. It was usually like not real estate agents like agencies, but like private real estate agents. And they were like, I don't charge a commission, I just charge like a move-in fee, like in amount of 1 month rent or like 10,000 crowns or like whatever. Like, so you can probably still see this, but yeah, in some cases there is this like sublease fee, and you have to pay that if you want to sublease the apartment. Another thing which didn't used to be very common in the Czech Republic, but now kind of is, I see it in like every other contract, so like one out of two usually, is a tenant's insurance, that the landlord wants you to have the flat or the house insured. That's likely not too much of a cost. Of course, it depends on the size of the apartment, and mainly it depends on the value of the items that are in the apartment, because the price of the insurance, the renter's insurance or tenant insurance, that mainly depends on the size and on the value of the belongings. So one part is what is the standard of the apartment. Usually you choose if it's like a standard, luxurious, or like bad condition furnishing and stuff like that. Another thing is your belongings. So how much you are bringing into the property, meaning like your personal stuff, like your laptop, or like you bring a bike or whatever. So whatever is yours in the apartment, so what's the value? And primarily this is what influences the price of the renter's insurance. But generally speaking, it's a couple hundred Czech crowns a year in most cases. I would say for the most, unless of course if you have some like really valuable items, or like some pieces of art like this, or stuff like that, it might drive the price higher. But generally for most like clients we work with, and we also work with ambassadors and like people who look for more expensive apartments, let's say, I would say that the renter's insurance would be like 2,000 crowns a year maximum. For smaller apartments might be like 700 crowns, 800 crowns, so like tens of dollars a year. So it's nothing really. Of course, depends what you include there. It can go higher if you want to include like some additional insurance, all that. But generally, I would say it's a couple tens of dollars. But it's more and more common, and it actually makes sense, because what the insurance covers is if someone destroys your things, like some leakage from the apartment above, so your things are protected. Also, if you do the same, and if you destroy the apartment itself, not intentionally, you leave the apartment, you left the washing machine running, and it breaks and it destroys the actual apartment, maybe also the apartment under you. So these kind of events would be covered. So that's actually, it makes sense, because then if you have to like pay for the reparation of the whole floor, that will be, I don't know, tens or hundreds of thousands of crowns if it's a nice floor. So if you pay like a couple hundred crowns and that will be covered, I think it's worth it. You also need to keep in mind that in most cases you will need to live somewhere until you move to the new apartment. So what you need to keep in mind is also, and what you need to be kind of ready to do if you move into a new apartment, is to be able to pay double rent for some amount of time. Of course, if you're just moving here from abroad, then it most likely means that you will need to rent a hotel, or you will need to stay in a hotel or Airbnb or somewhere for, we usually recommend 2 to 3 weeks at least. Then it depends on how picky you are, what are your requirements. So it depends, but I would generally say that it now takes around 2 to 3 weeks to find something for most people. It can go faster if you're lucky and you have good requirements. It can take longer if you're a bit picky or you don't have time to go see apartments, so it can take a month or longer. But generally, 2 to 3 weeks in a temporary accommodation is what you should expect. So whatever will be the cost. If you are just moving apartments within the Czech Republic or within Prague, whatever, it's not very likely to happen. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's definitely possible. I've seen it happen, but usually it doesn't work the way that you like finish your lease on the 31st of one month and then you start the lease from the 1st of next month. It can happen, but usually it's that you need to sign the lease a bit before your current lease expires. Because you also need to, depends also on how long have you been living in the current apartment, because usually what you need to do is when you're moving apartments, usually you need to paint the walls and clean the apartment, you need to move the furniture, all that. So it usually takes a couple days to do just this. So you need to have both places for some amount of time. Sometimes it's just a matter of days. Sometimes it can be a bit longer. Sometimes it also depends on what's happening in the new apartment, because they might be painting after the previous tenants, or they might be making some kind of small reconstruction or some like repairs or whatever. Because if the tenant has lived there for 5 years, even if it was a nice tenant, good, and they didn't destroy anything on purpose, there is still wear and tear, and then the landlords often want to just fix some things. And depending on the availability of the workers, it can take a couple days, couple weeks to get that done. So it depends on many things, but you should also be ready to pay for 2 apartments for some amount of time. And the last thing I would say is the internet. In terms of, or like what I mean is that especially if you move in here, or if you move to an apartment which doesn't support your current provider. Let's say you have O2 and you're moving to an apartment where there is only Vodafone. That can happen. Then you need to count with maybe some setup fees, especially if you're a foreigner. If you don't have any visa in the Czech Republic yet, phone operators or the internet providers can charge you for the modem. They can charge you some deposit just because you're a foreigner, especially if you move here, you don't have a visa, you came here under the 90 days visa-free stay or whatever, then there is no guarantee for them, for the internet providers, that you will not run out or run away and that you will stop paying for the internet and everything. So they often charge you some like deposit, which is returnable after some time, but usually need to pay, used to be a couple thousand of crowns. I will speak with my colleague who's primarily responsible for flat search, so to get some updates maybe for the next video. But it used to be like 2,000 crowns, 3,000 crowns, so nothing too big, but if you add all these like items, that's another amount you need to count with. So I think this is it. This was a good topic. I thought it was gonna last like 3 minutes and I will cover everything, but I actually talked a lot. So I will just answer the questions that are here. Kushwak G, hi sir. Hi, nice for me to join. Ekade Oriaku, good evening sir, happy to join you again today. What about the flat in Brno? I think this practice would be similar everywhere. There is one difference between Prague and Brno, and it is that in Prague, real estate agents usually charge both sides. You as the person looking for an apartment and the landlord. So they usually get 2 commissions from one from each of the sides. In Brno or in other cities, this usually is not the case, at least to my knowledge. But in Prague, it's a common practice that they charge both sides. Landlord for advertising his apartment and you for giving you the chance to rent the apartment. So, and I'm saying this without it's a good business, so I don't say anything about that. It's just like the practice here. So that would be the difference between here and Brno. But other than that, I think everything I was talking about is the same. Hi, how much do you think 1 KK apartment cost in Prague for, and how do I find one and not get ripped off as a foreigner? Well, the second, I will start with the second question. If you don't want to get ripped off, get in touch with us. We'll be happy to find you a place to live. But for 1KK, I would say 15 to 20 is what to reasonably expect. And I usually say like some range, and then people like hate me in the comments. Yeah, I got an apartment for 12,000 crowns, including everything, blah, blah, blah. But they don't mention that it's from their grandma, like who used to live there, and now she's renting to them. Like, of course, you can find cheaper apartments, but the numbers I'm giving you, all the videos here, are something that you should realistically expect, you know? Because you can get cheaper, but it's definitely not something you should be expecting that you will get. Because you might get it if you've been looking for a flat for 2 months because you have somewhere to live and you just want to move into something cheaper. You can get cheaper apartment if you have connections, because often what happens in offices, like if you have like 50 colleagues and you tell them, hey, I'm looking for a new apartment, chances are that they are moving from their own apartment or they know someone and they can recommend you, and that's usually easier for you to get an apartment if you're recommended by someone they know than if you just like reply to a message on S-Reality or somewhere or reply to an ad. So of course you can get cheaper apartments than the ranges I'm saying or talking about in my videos, but realistically expecting, of course, it also depends on the quality of the apartment you're looking for, and depends on many other things, the location, time of the year slightly, but on many things. But realistically speaking, a studio, I would say 15 to 20, like closer to 20, including everything, is what you should expect. Sarif Mahmoud, I want to open a branch office in Prague. Okay, good for you. Boris Ashusho, greetings, sir. Hello, nice to see you here. Lee Heyan, please can I ask a question on another topic? How does it work with health insurance for OSVČ people who are not covered by public health care? I have to buy commercial insurance and pay for a year in advance, so I can pay monthly deposits or send income statements at the end of the year. I will answer that. Okay, I'll answer it. Then there is Boris. I sent you a mail about a week ago, but haven't gotten your reply. If you send me, where do you send me a message? I don't know. That if you let me know what's your email, I'll be happy to check it, because we usually reply to all the emails. So I will just need to check if we maybe send you an email, but it ended in your spam, or if we haven't replied for some reason. So if you get in touch and send me your email address, I'll be happy to investigate and find out. But back to Lee, insurance, it depends on where are you from. Because if you are from a non-EU country, then in most cases you don't fall under the public healthcare. So from the trade license perspective, you only need to pay the income tax once a year and social security on monthly basis. The healthcare you don't have to, because you cannot contribute there. But anyway, you have to have, if you're a non-EU citizen, you have to have a private health insurance for your visa or your residence permit. So you don't actually need to buy an extra insurance just for the trade license, because you already have an insurance for your visa or your residence permit. So I would probably need to know a bit more, because this seems kind of clear to me that if you can contribute to the public healthcare system, but that only applies to EU citizens, PR holders, and some nationalities who as like freelancers can apply and contribute to the public healthcare system. The rest cannot, but you anyway need to have health insurance to live here and get a visa and keep the visa or residence permit. So you don't need to get another insurance just for the trade license, because you already have an insurance for your visa. Okay, so that's it, guys, for today. Thank you very much for joining the live stream. Of course, to those of you who are watching the recording, thank you as well. And I will see you again Thursday, Monday, until the end of the world. Bye-bye.